COVID-19. No one is safe until all are protected. Open letter from the Trans-Balkan Solidarity Group. Currently, there are tens of thousands of refugees and other migrants in the Balkans. Some of them are accommodated in official collective centers, while a large number of people fall outside the system, surviving through the help of the local population and support provided to them by volunteers throughout the region. Yet with the spread of the COVID-19 virus, the already difficult situation in which they find themselves is becoming even more challenging and demands urgent action of those in charge, local and international actors, and solidarity from all of us. The state of emergency now in force in many countries of the region is a basis for the continuation and reinforcement of social inequalities, and unfortunately is already serving as a rationale for this further stigmatization and repression of the most unprotected among us. But this exceptional situation must not become an excuse for continued policies of exclusion, restriction and expulsion, suffering and distress. The fear for our own lives and the lives of those around us that we are faced with currently have for many been everyday realities for much longer. These uncertainties of the present lead us to radically question the system of geopolitical hierarchies, racial and class distinctions that divide and rank us, producing a population of undesired and rejected people across the world, and in our countries alike. In these conditions, we are left with nothing more than to walk towards the removal of imposed inequalities based on social and national status. We therefore call for an end to all official and unofficial discriminatory and dehumanizing practices, for the legalization of everyone's existence, for the closure of all forms of detention and collective centers that restrict freedom of movement based on social and national status. We therefore call for an end to all official and unofficial discriminatory and dehumanizing practices, for the legalization of everyone's existence, for the closure of all forms of detention and collective centers that restrict freedom of movement and fail to secure humane and hygienic conditions. As individuals, we call for an affirmation of the values of equality and freedom, appealing to acts of care and solidarity. At the same time, as a form of emergency measures, we demand of the member governments of the European Union, the states of the region, and all relevant institutions and organizations to ensure that all who are forced to live on the streets, in abandoned buildings, without minimal sanitary conditions or in inadequate collective centers, are systematically provided accommodation in humane, safe, and sanitary conditions. We call for adequate and healthy living conditions to be secured for all, that public and other unused privately owned buildings, including tourist facilities, should be put to use for this purpose. In a pandemic such as this, basic accommodation for all vulnerable people needs to be the priority of all responsible public policies and states. In that sense, we remind that the European Union, especially the European Commission, bear particular responsibility towards refugees and other migrants stuck in our countries. As they have openly shown with their recent actions on the Greek-Turkish border and other borders, they want to keep refugees and migrants out of their territory at all costs and using any means, even if it results in further violence and suffering. Within the framework of measures envisioned and implemented by local and state authorities, as well as international organizations like IOM and their partners, that have in some states of the region taken on a leading role in work with people on the move, we ask for the immediate formation and activation of mobile teams to bring water and food, disinfectant, cleaning supplies and toiletries, to all those in need living outside the camps. Citizens should be included in this process without restrictions, on a voluntary basis and in line with the recommendations of health and epidemiological specialists. At the same time, this situation requires caution and openness, while calling us to maintain organized support to refugees, migrants, and other groups at risk. This is required of us out of elementary humanity as well as the basic logics of public health, because no one is safe until we are all protected.